Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and just a little reminder, Ledger Nano, or not Nano S, the Ledger has the Ledger X. I can't even remember the different names of them, but anyway, the link's in the top of the description. They're one of my sponsors. You can click on it and get it. If you don't control your keys, you don't control your crypto, you know the drill. There's all kinds of exchange issues and hacks and you know what. So if you don't have one yet, this is what I use, and click on the link in the top of the description and get one. Look at eGrag Crypto. Look what he's calling for. He's talking about a W formation, whatever that is. And he says XRP it'll either break the W pattern or it will break at. A breakout is coming is what he's saying. And it wasn't just him. I saw somebody else say that, and I don't know. I couldn't find the tweet. I saw a tweet saying the similar thing, and then I couldn't find it. And so we'll just have to see if we can find it. But anyway, wanted to show you this. This is the Bank of America CEO, Bank of America, who is a Ripple customer.
The question is, what's exciting is when you can walk around Bryant Park out here and go in these little shops that are set up for Christmas and be able to tap your phone or something like that, as opposed to being carrying dollars. Those are exciting things. To get that last mile electronified. That's what, to have you and I exchange money if we had lunch together through Zelle. That's exciting. That takes the cash, because in the end of the day, of the $53 billion expenses, odd round numbers we'll have next year, 5 of it will be to move coin, currency, and checks around the system. And if I can take that down in a safe, verifiable, ability to do it, know your customer in AML, take that down. That's a very valuable thing for us, and then you just ripple that through the industry. And we
that's
used
an interesting choice of
quote that
words.
we could ask them to destroy every. We could pay them to reprint the money rather than have to cycle it back in and out, because it was cheaper to move it around. Now, some of our contracting parties that move it around for us might not be happy with that, but that
just ripple it through the system. Now, here's an interesting thread right here, folks. Sorry, I absolutely, completely disagree. This is Mr. Huber. Completely disagree. They are a for-profit company. If they can get a unique advantage, they will take it any day. They will not go to the SCOTUS for elbow Joe. Nope. Okay. Then he says, this guy says, they have fiduciary responsibility towards their own company, not a responsibility over all of crypto. Who is this guy? Then David Schwartz says, the thing is, we can't succeed if the industry doesn't succeed. A world where, say, Twitter's the only successful internet company is unimaginable. I expect we will always prefer wins for everyone in the space if we can. Thanks for the response. Wasn't looking to paint Ripple as an unfeeling evil corporate overlord, only that the priority is Ripple first and hopefully everyone else if the cost is right. Then David Schwartz says, yeah, I think that's fair to say. I hope we don't get into a position where we're tempted to walk through a door and slam it shut behind us. But of course, I can't promise we won't. Now, you know what this reminds me of? Remember when Charles Hoskinson said this? I always thought that Charles Hoskinson was overly angry, and he wasn't even answering the specifics of what any of us were saying, which is a red flag to me. And then very quickly said, I'm just not going to go to any conference that has anybody having to do with Ripple or XRP. It was like he was mad at the people at Ripple because of what he heard. Listen.
I've heard rumors that the Ripple case will be settled December 15th, and we'll just see. And that could have catastrophic implications for the industry.
That right there. I always thought when I heard that is that he had to have heard something that led him to believe that Ripple would somehow settle or get out of this case, and it would save them but be detrimental to the rest of the industry. That's what I always felt like when I saw that. And in the following days and weeks after that, he seemed to get more and more irritated, but he never would get really specific on what it is that people in the XRP community were saying. It was more like he heard something and it just made him mad. And that's what makes sense to me. Now, and against that backdrop, we know how the SEC plays ball. Okay, we've seen them. All the people that have worked, that have been sued or whatever, they compare them to the mafia, and we know that the way they do things is they try to gather information and play nice, and then try to hold these companies over a barrel, and they do that in their negotiations and settlements too. And they try to hold these companies over a barrel. So there's no telling what kind of tactics they're trying to use on Ripple as we speak. Life in Gary Gensler's world, a case study. They're talking about how in April 2021, Paxos went in to register with the SEC its securities clearing service. Paxos said that it expected the SEC registration would become effective by the end of the year 2021. Well, it's 2 years later, and surprise, Paxos still has no securities clearing license from the SEC, but the SEC didn't leave Paxos totally empty-handed. The SEC did deliver a Wells notice to Paxos, threatening to sue them for issuing a stable coin, which the SEC now claims is a security. Paxos says they are still working with them, working with the SEC on their securities clearing application. So it's fair to say Gary Gensler has a bit of leverage over Paxos. That's how they do business. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if they were trying to hold Ripple over a barrel in all kinds of ways. But we also know, because Gary Gensler said so, how this mafia works.
A lot of commercial banks aren't terribly excited about that. Maybe you're going to have to give some ownership. Maybe you'll have to give 50% of your ownership to the 20 banks that are now, part of this. I mean, there are other ways to build incentive systems. Maybe you put a native token in there, and you give them the native token. So there may be other incentive ways to beat the current monopolist. But
So you kind of see where Gary's coming from to protect his buddies. Look down here. Jimmy Valley asked Matt Hamilton, "What say you about Ripple needing to bribe the SEC?" That would be horrible, right? I don't know if he ever answered that. These guys have been doing all kinds of debates I've seen on Twitter. He hadn't answered him yet. That might get interesting. Now, here's another thing. Mr. B had tweeted this: "Hi Coinbase, you had plenty of time to prepare. So let's see those Flare tokens." Apparently Flare's going up, and Mr. B's not happy about it. So I went and retweeted the Flare distribution dates to remind Coinbase and Brian Armstrong additional damages for potential lawsuits against Coinbase. Brian Armstrong Coinbase support begin on March 17th. When this distribution starts, this will be when myself, as well as a lot of people who had some XRP on Coinbase and other exchanges, all of a sudden damages will begin to accumulate, because if we don't get our Flare that Coinbase said they were going to give us, then we can't what's it called, delegate it or wrap it. We can't wrap it in order to receive that distribution. So it's a catch-22 for us. Well, this the crypto meme guy, reminds us that they need to relist XRP, release our Flare, relist XRP, give us our Songbird. We also didn't get our Songbird. I think that ship has sailed, and they may already be in a lawsuit over that. I think it seems like Fred Rispoli was suing them over that. Cointelegraph breaking news: Iraq's central bank says it plans to allow trade from China to be settled directly in yuan for the first time. This is becoming a common theme. Getting kind of spooky out there, right? James Phelan, Rosalind Layton filed an amended motion to intervene to petition the court for access to the Hinman documents. Her original request suggested the SEC had offered the Hinman speech documents in support of its own summary judgment motion, when that was not the case. So she had to file an amended motion. Then yesterday, if you remember, Wheezy was showing this, where Gary Cohen was, he basically showed documents that showed that Jay Clayton was Gary Cohen's plant. And then I ran across this clip. This is from Trump when Gary Cohen was leaving. He had resigned from the Trump administration. Listen to what he said.
This is Gary Cohen's last meeting in the cabinet and of the cabinet, and he's been terrific. He may be a globalist, but I still like him. He is seriously a globalist, there's no question.
That's pretty mean, wow. And then if you remember, Gary Cohn was also the guy who was sitting here on stage with Glenn Hutchins and Jay Clayton when this was said.
Perspective on it. Let's talk first about digital currencies, and let's talk about crypto stuff. Digital currencies today, roughly 92% of all currencies in the world is digitized.
You're talking about fiat versus crypto?
Just currency.
All right, so break them up though. So look, I totally believe in digital fiat.
Yeah,
so digital dollars, digital yen, digital euros. I don't. Those aren't crypto to me.
That's right.
That's digital fiat. So I just want everyone to understand that we're probably in more agreement.
No, it's not agreement. I'm just saying. Okay. I'm sort of dividing these two things apart, just like you just did. So the first thing you have to understand is that
I think this guy has been behind driving a lot of this bus, including what's going on with Jay Clayton as well as Gary Gensler. I believe this guy right here might be behind a lot of it. I think we can prove some of that. Some of it is just a gut feeling. Look at this. Jimmy Valley, thought for the day. This is a good question. From whom did Multicoin and Galaxy Digital obtain borrowed XRP to short it? Why did Perkins Coie write a memo for Ripple regarding securities law analysis and then work with Poloniex to take XRP offshore? These are really good questions. Then there was this from James Phelan. Wall Street Journal discusses Gensler's latest effort to exert control over all of crypto. SEC is investigating whether investor protection laws were violated as stable coins were issued. Now, if you remember the other day, Eleanor Terrett said she made a mistake in saying that Circle had received a Wells notice. Well, in this article, it says that Circle here. Well, let me pull it up. Make sure I'll give you exactly what it says so I don't make a mistake here. Down, now I can't read it, but it said something. Wait, here we go. Down here. Let me see if we can get to the Circle part. Says the SEC is also, Coinbase has disclosed, the SEC is also investigating its stablecoin product. Coinbase maintains a partnership in the operation of USDC, the second largest stablecoin, with Circle Internet Financial. Circle also has disclosed it faces an SEC investigation. A Circle spokesman declined to comment. So Eleanor Terrett may have been wrong that they didn't receive a Wells notice, but they are under investigation. Tom Emmer tweeted this out. Now, folks, when you hear all these people talking about how scary and how bad CBDCs are, they are partially right. They are right if guys like Tom Emmer don't do what he's doing right here. Today, I introduced the CBDC Anti-Surveillance State Act to halt efforts of unelected bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. from stripping Americans of their right to financial privacy. The bill does three things. Prohibits the Fed from issuing a CBDC directly to anyone, bars the Fed from using CBDCs to implement monetary policy and control the economy, requires the Fed's CBDC projects to be transparent to Congress and the American people. Any digital version of the dollar must uphold our American values of privacy, individual sovereignty, and free market competitiveness. Anything less opens the door to the development of a dangerous surveillance tool. After all, Americans remain technological leader not because we force innovations to adopt our values under regulatory duress, but because we allow technology that holds these values at their core. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and tell your friends and family that even though Tom Emmer has not shown us a new day has not come with regard to the SEC, I'm not saying he's not a good guy. I think that what he's doing here is a major plus. Thanks for listening.